Hello, this is Jamey Stegmeyer of Stonemeyer Games, and I'm here today to talk about my favorite game mechanism in Project Dreamscape by Sarah and Will Reed. I just played this for the first time a few days ago. I am a Kickstarter backer, and I was really intrigued by the game because Sarah and Will Reed have backed my games, and now they're designing games, and I think the art is just perfect for a light dream-themed game. In the game, you are trying to, hopefully I'll say this correctly, I believe you're like in a sleep study, and you're trying to wake up having remembered the most dreams that you had while you were asleep. This game does two things that I think are really clever that I wanted to talk about here. One of them is a component thing, or actually two little component things. One is that, actually I can't show you right now. Yeah, okay, so on the bottom of the box, I thought this was really cool. It shows you, so in the game you're trying to like get lines of cards, and you can see that on the side of the box, they show you the points. So instead of having to include like a little card that lies flat on the table, you can put the box on the table and see how longer lines of cards score more points. I thought that was clever. But the really clever component thing that I thought, especially for a small box game like this, was that the game features a card river that you can buy from. So there are 5 cards that are always out, and you can decide which one you want to buy, and some cost more than the rest. And this will tie to the other mechanism. And the way they do this, instead of having like a board that would somehow have to fold into this small box where you put down the cards to show the different values of each card as they move down the river, because the longer a card has been out, the cheaper it is. Instead of doing that, they included a small punch board that just had coins, or I guess little tokens that show you they're numbered 5 through 1. And I just thought that was really clever, that a small box game could create a river of cards with set values using tokens like that. Very clever. But the really clever thing about the game that I really, really like has to do with the currency of the game, which are dreams. It's called your deep sleep stack of cards. At the beginning of every turn, you have the choice of drawing a card and adding it to your deep sleep stack. You start the game with one of them. It's just a face down card. It doesn't mean anything else, and that's why it has like the currency symbol on the back of the card, because it's currency when it's face down like this. So you start the game with one. At the beginning of your turn, you can choose to draw another one if you want. And so throughout the game, every turn, you could add more and more cards. And there are other ways to obtain cards during the game that would add to your deep sleep stack as well. There's also a mechanism in the game where you can remove cards from another player's deep sleep stack. And the reason this is important is because the number of cards in your stack equals the number of currency you have to spend. You kind of tap it if you want to spend it. So say I have 3 cards in my deep sleep stack and I want to buy the card in the card river that costs 2. I would just tap 2 of those cards to spend that 2, and I would take the card and add it to my other stack of cards, which are face up, leaving 1 currency that I could still spend if I want on the 1 value card in the card river. So you're using these as currency. But the catch is, at the end of the game, each of these count as a negative point. And this is a game where you don't score a lot of points. I think I won the first game with like 16 or 18 points, and that seemed pretty high because the other players had like 8, 9 points. Although it was a first game, maybe the points would go much higher, but I doubt they would go much higher than like 20 or 25 points. So these are, like, you have to make a really important decision at the beginning of your turn. Do you add more currency to spend so you can buy cards that are higher up on the river, so you can have access to like the 4 cost card or the 5 cost card before it like floats down the river and another player gets it? Or do you keep this stack really slim and buy fewer cards overall and lose more points at the end of the game? Because during the course of the game, you could probably have 6, 7 cards in the stack, so you're losing a lot of points at the end, but your buying power is awesome. You could buy 2, 3, 4 cards every turn. Maybe not 4, probably two or 3. Anyway, I thought that mechanism was really clever. They used cards in multiple ways as currency, and that at the end of the game it's worth negative points. So you have this interesting push and pull as to what you do. That's the big aspect of the game that made me want to play again, because that choice, especially early on in the game, is really interesting to me. Like, do you go all out on currency, or do you play very conservatively and see how that plays out? Anyway, two very clever mechanisms, or the components and how they tie to this this currency system. I'm not sure I've seen that currency system in other games. I'm trying to think right now if I've seen that, but I don't think I have. Usually, currency is on cards that you've already played, or it's a completely different component that you use, resources or money or something. It's not the cards themselves. So I thought that was really clever. I'm sure that, like I'm saying that, but there's 1,000 games out there, thousands and thousands of games. So I'm sure some of them use this mechanism. If you can think of one that you find interesting, feel free to mention it in the comments. All right, thanks.